The stars were quiet. It's quiet. Captain Ralvek sat in the command chair of the Zaraka, a small scout ship of the Kriver Empire. His claws tapped the metal armrest as he stared at the map. One section of the galaxy was always missing. A wide, dark patch, no lights, no signals, no planets, no return. It was known as the blank zone. No one ever went there, not even the bravest pirates, not even smugglers. The Kriver called it the void of death. The Alari called it the sleeping zone. Everyone else just called it what it looked like. It's a black hole on the map. But Captain Ralvek was not afraid. At least that's what he told himself. We are close. To the border, sir, said his pilot, a young lizard-like alien named Viren. Good, Ralvek replied. The pirate went in there, we follow. Viren hesitated. Sir, we were told never to cross into the blank zone. Ralvek's eyes narrowed. Do you want to let the pirate escape? That thief stole royal codes. If he sends them to the resistance, we're all dead. Push forward. Viren swallowed, nodded, and tapped the controls. The stars moved slowly as the ship drifted closer to the edge of the unknown. A faint shimmer appeared like a black curtain stretched across the stars, and then it passed through it. The moment. They crossed the invisible border. The stars vanished. Nothing but darkness outside. No planets, no light, no movement. It was like the ship was floating inside ink. Ralvek leaned forward. Scan everything. I want heat, energy, motion, sound, anything. Viren tried. But every sensor returned 0. Not broken. Just ... empty. Anything. On the long-range view? Ralvek asked. Only one thing, Viren said slowly. The pirate ship? It's floating dead. There's no power, no life signs. Bring us closer. Glided silently toward the small vessel. As they got near, they saw something strange. The Glidic's ship was cut open. Not blasted, not burned. Cut cleanly, like a piece of fruit. No signs of struggle, no signs of life. Then, for a moment, just 1 second, Ralvek thought he saw something. A shape large, far away, and then gone. What was that? He shouted. I didn't see anything. Viren stammered. Ralvek stood up. Scan that sector. Something's there. Viren tried, hand shaking. Still nothing. Then the lights flickered. Just once. Then again, a soft hum filled the ship. It, low and deep, like the growl of a beast just behind a door. Ralvek reached for his sidearm, put us in reverse. Now, Viren didn't respond. Viren. He barked. But Viren was frozen, staring. Ralvek followed, his gaze to the main screen. The stars had returned, but they were wrong. Too many wrong positions, strange colors. Ralvek realized they were not the same stars. Suddenly, every system on the ship shut down. Its lights, engine, screens gone. Only the deep hum remained. And then, a voice that came from nowhere. It had no language, but they understood it. You have entered restricted space. Ralvek froze. Who said that? The voice came again, cold and powerful. You were not invited. You will be removed. A blinding white light filled the cockpit. Ralvek screamed. The Zaraka floated silently outside the blank zone 3 days later. A patrol ship from the Kriver Empire found it, engines dead, systems wiped, hull untouched, only one life form inside, Captain. Ralvek, he sat in his chair, his eyes open, not blinking. When the rescue crew came aboard, he didn't speak. He didn't move, just stared ahead, pale and shaking. They carried him off. In the medical bay, doctors tried everything. He was healthy, but he wouldn't speak. Hours later, in a quiet moment, he whispered something. Just for words. Are still watching. Back at the capital station of the Kriver Empire, news of Ralvek's return spread fast. The military grew nervous. The council argued. Some wanted to send another ship to investigate. Okay? Others said it was suicide. Admiral Threx, an old and proud warrior, stood before the Union leaders. We must not fear myths. The blank zone is only a patch of space. We will send a cruiser. Armed. Protected by science and strength. One counselor raised his voice. What if the stories are true? What if it's them? Humans, Threx laughed. That ancient species? Gone for 500 years? Vanished after the Great Exodus? Nonsense. Still, some in the room said nothing, because deep down, they remembered the old warnings. If you see the blank zone, turn away. If you hear silence, run. And if humans return, ... pray. Meanwhile, far inside the blank zone, beyond any known star charts, a fleet of black ships drifted in silence. They had no flags, no windows, no lights. Only one symbol marked their holes inside one of the vessels. A tall figure stood by a glass panel. He looked like a man, but his eyes glowed faintly. His body was half metal. His voice was calm. Another scout entered, said the female beside him. I know, he replied. You let him go? Yes. They need a warning. Do you think they will listen? The man smiled slightly. No, but soon they will remember why this part of space is blank. He turned away. The ship made no sound. No heat, but it moved with purpose. On the edge of the galaxy, near the blank zone border, a small mining colony picked up a strange reading. The foreman blinked. Is that a signal? The technician nodded. Just a blip. It lasted 1 second, then gone. From where? The tech zoomed in. The signal came from deep inside the blank zone. But that's impossible, the foreman said. There's nothing there. The technician hesitated, then looked up. There is now. The doors to the Central Kriver Medical Center slid open. 4 soldiers carried Captain Ralvek inside. His body was stiff. His eyes wide open. His mouth moved slowly like he was trying to say something, but no sound came out. Nurses rushed over. How long has he been like this? One asked. Since we found him, said the lead soldier. 3 days, no food, no water. Durs ran tests. His brain was active. His heart was strong. His body showed no injuries. But something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Ralvek wasn't reacting like a normal Kriver. He wasn't reacting at all. 2 days later, Admiral Threx stood in the observation room above Ralvek's bed. Below, the captain sat alone in the quiet white room, hands resting in his lap, eyes staring at the wall. Still no change? Threx asked. The doctor shook his head. He doesn't eat unless we force-feed him. He doesn't sleep. He just sits. And every time we try to ask about what happened, he shakes. Threx narrowed his eyes. He's not a coward. I agree, which makes this worse. Threx tapped the glass. I want answers. Give him truth drugs. Use a mind probe if you have to. We tried. The probes shorted out. His brainwaves spike every time we mention the blank zone. We believe he saw something beyond what he could understand. Threx frowned. He's broken. Suddenly, Ralvek turned his head. He looked up right at Threx. He smiled, just slightly. Threx stepped back. Later that night, Ralvek finally spoke. A young nurse was adjusting his monitors when he whispered, They watched me. She froze. Who? Went to her slowly. The ones in the dark. The nurse swallowed. You mean humans? Ralvek nodded once. They're alive? His voice became soft. Not just alive, they're preparing. News spread across the Kriver Empire fast. The humans are alive. The blank zone hides them. Captain Ralvek is changed. The Union of Systems began emergency meetings in hidden chambers. Alien leaders shouted at one another. This is just fear, one cried. Humans are a dead race. Then who cut open a ship without heat or force? It's a trick, or a warning. An elder Valtari senator stood slowly. Her voice shook. I was a child when my planet traded with humans. They were kind, but strange. Always building, always thinking ahead. Then one day, they disappeared. No war, no goodbye. Just gone. She pointed to the map on the wall, the blank zone glowing faint red. They didn't vanish. They went there. On the Kriver homeworld, Ralvek was moved to a secret underground facility. His words were now clearer. But his mind was still far away, An intelligence agent named Sarn was assigned to question him. Sarn sat across the table. From Ralvek. Small recorder blinked red. I need you to tell me what you saw, Sarn said calmly. Ralvek tilted his head. Can't imagine it. Try me. Ralvek closed his eyes. There was no light. No noise. Only pressure. Then they came. Not in ships like ours. Their vessels. Were silent. Big. Alive. Alive. Sarn asked. They breathed. I could hear it, feel it in my bones. Sarn leaned forward. What did they want? Ralvek's smile faded. They didn't want anything? Then why let you go? Ralvek looked straight into Sarn's eyes. They let me go, so I could tell you to stay away. The next day, a private video was leaked. It showed Ralvek in the medical room, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. His voice whispered something over and over. They are not primitive. They're planning something. The footage went viral across the galaxy. Fear grew. Civilian ships avoided the blank zone. Border colonies increased their patrols. Minor species started fleeing toward the core worlds. The Galactic Union tried to keep peace, but whispers spread too fast. Some aliens believed humans had created weapons the galaxy couldn't understand. Others believed humans had evolved becoming something greater, more dangerous. Everyone agreed on one thing. The blank zone was no longer empty. In a shadowed station near the border, an old trader named Grum sat with a young pilot. I flew with a human once, Grum said, sipping his drink. Decades ago. He never blinked. Always thinking. What happened to him? The pilot asked. Last I heard, he vanished, like the rest of them. Now they're back. You believe that? Grum leaned in. They didn't die. They didn't flee. They were waiting. The pilot frowned. For what? Grum's eyes narrowed. For us to forget how dangerous they were, deep inside the blank zone. A giant black ship moved through the void. Inside the command center, human officers watched silent screens. Their eyes were cold. Focus. Commander Hall, leader of the fleet, stood before a massive table with glowing maps. They've started asking questions, said his second in command, Dr. Yara Quinn. Hall nodded. Good. Let them wonder. Should we allow more scouts in? Not yet. The message is sent. They will either listen or come too close. And if they come, Hale turned. His voice was calm. Final. Then they will understand why this part of space is still blank. Back in Kriver space, Threx stood before the High Command. This is madness, he shouted. One damaged scout, one broken captain, and now our whole union trembles. A senator stood, and yet you feel fear. I do not fear ghosts, another senator interrupted. Then lead a mission. Take a full warship into the blank zone. Threx paused, then smiled. Gladly. In the war docks above Kriver Prime, the mighty cruiser Vengeance of Stars was prepared. 300 crew, shielded weapons, black armor. It launched into the dark, heading straight for the edge of the map. Inside, Threx stood tall. We go not for war. He told the crew, we go for truth. But in his heart, he carried fear far behind, in his quiet medical cell. Ralvek watched the stars through a small window. He whispered one word. Too late. The stars faded behind them. The massive Kriver warship, Vengeance of Stars, passed through the invisible wall at the edge of the blank zone. No alarms, no welcome, no resistance, only silence. Admiral Threx stood tall on the bridge, his eyes fixed forward. Around him, his officers worked quickly, but with stiff fingers and dry mouths. They had trained for war. They had fought pirates. They had faced unknown creatures in deep space. But this was different. The blank zone. This felt wrong, like space itself was holding its breath. Threx turned to his science officer. Status. No signals. No energy. Just blackness. No stars. The stars are behind us, but not ahead. Threx frowned. Where did they go? No one answered. An hour passed. Still no contact. No movement. No readings. Only dark space ahead and a rising sense of fear. "Sir," the communications officer called. "We're getting something, just a blip." "Show it." A single red dot flashed on the map, then vanished. Direction? Hard to say that thing. It wasn't there, then it was. Then gone. Threx tightened his jaw. "Keep scanning. Prepare weapons. Stay alert." The ship moved deeper into the zone, like a tiny bug floating in a giant. A silent ocean, and then it happened. The lights dimmed. Not completely, just enough to make the ship feel haunted. The control panels flickered. A deep vibration moved through the hull, as if something massive was nearby, but they couldn't see it. "Where is it?" Threx snapped. "We don't know." The ship's engines slowed down by themselves. "Engine room report?" Threx shouted. Into the Psalms. No answer. Static. Then a voice came through the speakers. It wasn't K.R. Ivor. It wasn't any known language, but everyone understood it. "You were warned." The crew froze. Weapons Officer Zur reached for his console to arm the rail cannons. Before he finished, the screens on the bridge went black dot. All of them then. One screen lit up. It showed a shape. Huge, black. Moving, not a ship, a shadow. It stretched across the void. Wider than their cruiser. Silent. No engines. No lights, but it was coming. Fast. Evasive maneuvers. Threx roared. The helmsman turned. The ship, but it was too late. Something slammed into the cruiser, not with fire or explosions, but with pressure. The crew screamed as the gravity shifted. Lights exploded. The hull groaned like it was being squeezed, and then silence again. Outside the blank zone, the Galactic Union watched from deep space drones. The vengeance of stars. Disappeared from every system. Gone. No explosion, no signal. Just dot dot. Vanished an hour later. A few pieces of wreckage floated back across the invisible line. One was a piece of hull armor. Cut perfectly on it was a symbol burned. Deep into the metal, back on the Kriver capital, panic broke out. The broadcast was cut off mid-report, senators shouted. Civilians rushed to shelters. The warship was gone, not destroyed, erased. A new message flashed across the Union's main networks. No one knew who sent it. No one knew how it bypassed all firewalls, but it appeared on every screen, in every system. "This is human territory. Stay out." On a cold mining moon near the edge of the blank zone, an old worker named Hesser looked at the message. He turned to his crew. "Told you," he muttered. "Told you the stories were real. The humans didn't die. They just went home."
Ow.
Galactic Union control room. Leaders of 12 species gathered for emergency talks. "The humans are back," said the Alari diplomat. "Back?" replied a Yark general. "They never left. They were just waiting in the dark." The Valtari ambassador stood. "We must send a message. Not of war, but of peace." Another voice rose. "What if they don't want peace?" Silence. Because everyone knew what they had seen. A Kriver. Warship, one of the strongest in the galaxy, vanished without firing a shot. No battle, no warning, just gone in the Kriver hospital. Captain Ralvek watched the news on his screen. He smiled faintly. "They came too close," he whispered. The nurse leaned in. "Was it really them?" Ralvek's eyes were empty now. "They didn't destroy that ship," he said softly. "What did they do?" Ralvek turned his head, his voice cold. "They showed mercy." On the edge of the blank zone, hidden by ancient stealth technology, a human dreadnought floated in silence. Inside, Commander Hale watched the replay of the warship's destruction, not by weapons, but by presence. "They still don't understand," said Dr. Yara Quinn. "They will," Hale replied. "We warned them. They ignored it. Do we move?" Hale shook his head. "No, we wait. We don't need to chase. Sooner or later, they'll come again." Back in the Union, two plans formed. One send more warships. The other tried diplomacy. The votes were split, but the decision was clear. Send a message to the humans, not with ships, not with weapons, but with words. Across hundreds of systems, the question spread like fire. What do the humans want? And in quiet corners of the galaxy, people began to whisper something that hadn't been said in 5 centuries. Humanity is rising again. The Galactic Union sat in silence. 12 alien leaders, hundreds of advisors, billions watching across the galaxy. The footage had played 3 times. Each time, it ended the same way: their Kriver warship. Vengeance of stars vanishing into blackness. Without a fight, without a trace, and each time, screen faded to black and showed a final message. This is human territory. Stay out. It was the first human message in over 500 years. On the Alari homeworld, the ancient leader, High Speaker Valis, watched the broadcast. He had seen many wars. But this wasn't war. This was a statement. He turned to his advisors. This was not a threat. It was a warning. It means only one thing. The room waited. Humanity is no longer hiding. On the mining colony, Oris 9, deep in the outer zones. The signal appeared again, this time longer. On every screen, every language, across every planet, the same voice spoke. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it was calm, controlled, but powerful. It's the Galactic Union. You crossed a line. You were warned. You did not listen. We are not your enemy. But we are not your subject. You looked into the dark and sent war. We answered with silence. Let that be enough. This message will repeat once. After that, we will not speak again. End transmission. The message lasted just 37 seconds, but it shook the galaxy and the Union. Defense Halls, the Veltari general threw his datapad across the room. They gave no terms. No name, no demands. The Alari diplomat raised a hand. They don't want negotiation. That was the negotiation. Then what do we do? The room fell silent. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Union was not in control. On a distant outpost station near the blank zone, a group of smugglers sat in silence. They had once traded across the stars, laughed at laws, and cheated death more times than they could count. Now they watched the human message on a cracked screen. One of them, a grizzled female pilot with 3 cybernetic fingers, finally whispered, "They're not just back, they're better." In the Kriver high-security facility, Captain Ralvek sat at a table with 2 guards beside him. His eyes were clearer now. The blank stare was gone. He looked calm. A Kriver intelligence officer stepped forward. "You saw them? Tell us what you saw." Ralvek nodded slowly. "They didn't speak," he said. "Not at first, but I understood." "Did they threaten you?" "No." "Did they hurt you?" "No." The officer frowned. "Then what did they do?" Ralvek leaned forward. "They made me feel small. In a quiet sector of the galaxy, hidden behind ancient cloaking fields, a black armored fleet waited. Each ship bore the same symbol. Inside the lead ship, Commander Hale stood at the center of a wide chamber filled with glowing maps. He watched the spread of fear across Union systems. Civilian ships were fleeing. Governments were panicking. Dr. Yara Quinn entered quietly. "They're scared," she said. Hale nodded. "Good. They might send diplomats. They already tried." 3 cloaked probes crossed the line this morning. Destroyed? No, disabled. Returned. Yara looked surprised. "Why let them go?" Hale answered without blinking. "Because they still don't understand. We are not here to destroy them. But we will not be ignored." Aboard Union Station Orvin 5, a group of historians worked around the clock. They dug into old Earth archives. Forgotten texts. Junior analysts found a file labeled Exodus Black, Final Orders. It was over 500 years old. The file was corrupted, but one phrase repeated at the bottom. "We do not run. We prepare. When we return, the stars will remember our name." It's on the outer planet Grelin. A farmer looked up into the sky. For the first time in his life, he saw it. A large black object floating silently in orbit. No markings. No signal, just a presence. Then it vanished. His neighbor didn't believe him, but the next day, the same object appeared above a Union military outpost, and every weapon system on the base shut down for 6 minutes. No attack, no damage, just silence. Then it vanished again. The message was clear. We're watching. The Union's leadership was split. Some wanted to send more ships. Others said it would be suicide in secret. Some races began preparing escape ships. Others sent spies to human space. None returned. In the end, the Union chose one last attempt. Send a human, not just anyone. A descendant of the original humans that once lived in Union space, a half-blood diplomat named Mira Kale, born of human and Alari parents. She was young, sharp, and fearless, and she agreed to go. A sleek Union shuttle crossed the edge of the blank zone. No escort, no weapons, just a signal beacon and one passenger. Mira Kale stood at the front window, staring into the dark. She whispered, "I hope you remember your own." A day passed, no word. Then the shuttle returned, untouched. Mira stepped out. Pale, quiet. She held a small black data crystal in her hand. The Union rushed her to the capital, inside the great chamber. Mira placed the crystal on the table. The lights dimmed, and a new human voice echoed through the room. "We recognize Mira Kale as one of our own. She is not harmed. This is our final message. We have no interest in conquering, we have no desire for war, but we will not be threatened. If your fleets cross the line again, they will not return. Let this galaxy grow in peace or not at all. Humanity has waited long enough. The next step is yours." And just like that, the feed ended. No reply channel, no signal trace, just the echo of a voice that sounded too calm to be afraid, too cold to be stopped. In the days that followed, the galaxy stood still. No more ships entered the blank zone. No more warnings were sent. But deep inside that dark space, the human fleet expanded, silently, watching, waiting. It began with a silence. A small border station named Tyrell's Reach, located on the edge of the blank zone, missed its daily transmission. No distress signal, no warnings, just nothing. Union Command sent a scout ship to investigate when it arrived. There was no station, no debris, no signs of battle, no radiation. As if the station had never been built. The scout returned in a panic. But before it could land, it vanished too. 3 days later, another system, Delta 4, a Kriver mining colony, went dark. Over 12,000 workers. 6 orbital satellites. A full security force gone. Not destroyed. Erased. Their last transmission was short. "Something is watching from the black. We see ships. Too fast. Too silent." We then silence again. Panic spread. Union space was supposed to be safe for hundreds of years. Borders had held firm, but now border systems were disappearing one by one, and no one knew who or why. In the Union Council chambers, voices shouted over one another. 5 systems gone in 1 week. There's no wreckage, no trace of heat or energy. It's the humans. It has to be. Mira Kale stood at the center of the room, quiet but strong. "They're not attacking." A Kriver general scoffed. "You call this peace?" She shook her head. "No, I call this a message." In the dark void near the vanished colonies, something began to move. Not a ship, not a fleet. Something larger, invisible to sensors. But very real, a shimmering wave across space, as if space itself was folding inward, in a hidden human control center. Commander Hales stood before a large black window, outside. Stars twisted unnaturally. Dr. Yara Quinn stepped beside him. 3 more. "Systems neutralized," she said. "No resistance," Goodhell replied. "You're sure they'll understand? They have to? Or the next phase begins." She looked out into the dark. "And what happens then?" Hay answered quietly. "Then the galaxy learns what we became while they were laughing at our silence." Back in Union space, historian Trelon and Mira Kale reviewed ancient maps. Searching for a pattern, they found one. Every system that disappeared had one thing in common. They all had once belonged to humanity, hundreds of years ago, before the great exodus. Humans had colonized those places, and now they were taking them back, but not by force, not with war, with precision. In a small cafe on Velis Prime, two civilians talked over tea. "I used to think humans were gone," said the elder one. "They were never gone," the younger said, "just watching." "What do you think they're doing now?" The younger one looked out the window, redrawing the map. In orbit above Outpost Meridian, a Union fleet waited nervously. 12 ships, 3,000 soldiers, all armed, all alert. But their orders were simple. Hold the line. Do not fire first. Hours passed. Then every screen on every ship went dark. The fleet captain screamed over, "Come status. Report." Right. One voice returned, not human, not machine, a calm, neutral tone. "This outpost is in disputed space. Evacuate within 1 hour. No weapons will be fired. But there will be no second warning." The voice faded. Power returned. The captains looked at one another and ordered retreat. News of the standoff spread across the galaxy. The humans had given a deadline, not an ultimatum, and they had not fired a single shot. Even the Union's most war-hungry voices were stunned because each time humans showed up, they won without firing. They spoke softly, but the galaxy was beginning to listen. Meanwhile, Myra Kale stood before the Galactic Union once more. "I've been asking the wrong question," she said. "We all have." One Criver senator frowned. "What do you mean?" She stepped forward. "It's not, why are the humans doing this? It's, why didn't they do it sooner?" The room went quiet, because deep down, everyone knew the answer. They didn't need to. Across the stars, humans were reclaiming systems without battles, without resistance, and without casualties. They were rewriting the border, and no one could stop them, because no one could even see them coming. On the far side of the blank zone, inside the enormous structure called the Black Halo, thousands of humans worked in silence. Engineers, scientists, thinkers, children trained in virtual schools. Ships were built not just with steel, but with thought, light, and gravity. It wasn't just a military project, it was a civilization. The Halo was not a base, it was a new Earth. And soon, its presence would no longer be hidden. Inside the Halo's command tower, Commander Hale received a new report. The Union had begun diplomatic requests, peace talks, offers of shared space. Myra Kale had personally sent a transmission, asking for a meeting. Dr. Quinn looked up from her screen. "Do we answer?" Hale stared out at the black zone's shifting edge and said, "Yes, let them come. Let them see what we've built. Let them understand the truth that the stars they claimed were never theirs to begin with." Back in Union space, ships and stations watched the growing map changes. Slowly, silently, border systems were changing color on every galactic chart. From Union blue to black dot, each system marked with a simple symbol. No war, no vote, number. Fight, just a quiet transfer of ownership from fear, from respect, and maybe, just maybe, from hope. Because somewhere deep in the hearts of the galaxy's people, strange feeling was growing. Not hatred, not pride, but something ancient, something forgotten. The Union ship Silver Hope drifted toward the border. It was small, unarmed, and white as bone. A peaceful design. A peaceful mission. Inside, Myra Kale stood at the front of the bridge. Her face was calm, her heart racing. Behind her, 12 representatives from the Galactic Union sat in silence. One from each of the major species. L. Ari, Kriver, Valtari, Jarn, and more, each of them chosen to speak for their people, each of them holding the same question. Would the humans listen? Outside, the stars shimmered strangely. Not broken, not distant, just off, as if the space around them wasn't space at all, but something else, something aware. Approaching the Halo, the pilot said, 10,000 kilometers in closing. The Union group stared ahead and gasped. There it was, the Black Halo, larger. than any structure ever built. It stretched across the void like a ring of night, but it wasn't floating. It was anchored to space itself, held in place by nothing and everything. The ship's scanners flickered and failed. The pilot cursed under his breath. "We've lost." Navira stepped forward. "Don't worry, they know we're here." A voice filled the ship, soft, perfect, human. "Welcome. Miracle, you may dock at Gate 7. The others will remain aboard." Everyone stiffened. The voice wasn't angry. It wasn't kind. It was simply... Final Mira entered alone. The docking bay was huge and empty. No guards, no weapons. Only lights that followed her as she walked. Through long silver halls, through a lift that moved without sound or motion, until she reached the core chamber, and there waiting. For her was Commander Hale. He looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, calm. Dark uniform with no rank symbols. Only the black square on his chest. Behind him stood a woman in white. Dr. Yara Quinn. Hale nodded. "Thank you for coming." Myra didn't speak right away. She just stared at him. "You're real," she finally said. He gave a small smile. "Very." They sat at a low black table in a round room lit by soft white panels. No guards. No translators. Just a humans and the first true meeting in 500 years. Mira spoke first. "You've reclaimed 12 systems." "Yes." "You've taken old colonies without resistance." "We didn't take," Hale said. "We returned." "Why now?" "We leaned forward because the galaxy forgot who we were, and we allowed it. But we are finished hiding." Mira paused, then asked the question no one else had dared say. "Are you planning to rule the galaxy?" Hale's face didn't change. "No." "Then what do you want?" Dr. Quinn answered this time. "We want space, freedom, the right to exist without being studied, measured, or controlled." Hale continued, "For centuries, we watched your wars, your politics, your control over systems you never built. We gave warnings. We erased no one until the warnings were ignored. We were not threatening the galaxy. We were giving it a chance." Mira studied him. A chance to do what? To respect the past, to understand the future. He tapped a button on the table. A map appeared in the air between them. It showed the galaxy and highlighted dozens of systems that had once belonged to Earth. Old colonies, forgotten outposts, long-lost stations. All of this, he said, was human. We left it behind to become something better. Now we've returned to honor it. Mira nodded slowly. "So what happens now?" "It depends on your people." Hale stood and walked toward the window. Behind it, space shimmered like liquid. "You can let us rebuild in peace," he said. "Or you can keep trying to push us back." He turned to face her. "But you won't win that war. Number one will." On board the Silver Hope, the Union delegates watched her through a live link. She stood tall, calm. She looked straight into the camera and said, "I believe them." The Criver growled. "That's not your call." "No," Mira replied. "It is your warning." Back inside the halo, Hale handed her a small black cube. "This contains everything," he said. "Maps, terms, technology we're willing to share. And if they refuse," he didn't blink, "then we vanish again." Mira blinked. "You'd just disappear?" Dr. Quinn stepped beside him. "You misunderstand? We won't vanish. To escape," she said. "We'll vanish so they never find us again." Mira took the cube. Hale added one final word. "Your people believe strength comes from control." He pointed to the window. "We learned that strength comes from choice. Let's let them choose wisely." The Silver Hope returned to Union space. No one fired, no one followed. But when Myra landed and handed over the cube, she added a final warning. "They are not gods. They are not monsters. They are humans. They are done waiting." Inside the Union Council, the cube's data opened. Dozens of worlds marked, each once human, each now occupied, peacefully, each with a message left behind. "We do not seek conquest. We seek home. Let us have it." Across the galaxy, leaders debated, but among the people, miners, traders, farmers, quiet truth spread. The humans were not coming. They were already here, and the galaxy was no longer theirs alone. The galaxy had changed, but not through war, not through fire, through silence, through vanishing stars and missing systems, through a force too quiet and too powerful to fight. And now everyone knew humanity never left. They had only disappeared to build something greater, the Union. Council sat in darkness. Screens glowed softly around them. Everyone showed the same image. A map of the galaxy, updated in real time, 20-7 systems once thought lost, now marked reclaimed by a single symbol: no war, no blood. Just black flags raised without battle. New empire had formed, but it had no emperor, no capital city, no loud speeches or demands. Only one message: we waited. Now we rise. On the Valtari homeworld, historian Trellin spoke to a room of students. He showed them images of the lost. Human colonies, restored now. Cities floating above clouds. Underground vaults powered by gravity engines. Even children in white uniforms learning in fields of stars. They built it all in silence, Trellin said. In the space we called empty. One student raised her hand. Why didn't they attack us? Trellin smiled. Because they didn't need to. At a hidden station in the black halo, Commander Hale stood on a balcony. Below him, millions of humans moved through glowing halls. Scientists, pilots, children. No armies, no conquerors, just builders, creators, survivors. Dr. Yara Quinn joined him. We've reclaimed 30 systems, Goodhal said. Some Union worlds are asking to join us. He looked out at the stars. Let them, but only if they understand. Understand what? He turned to her. That we are not like them anymore. The Galactic Union began to fracture. Small planets tired of endless rules and slow progressing. Messages to the humans, not as enemies, but as hopefuls. They didn't want war. They wanted to grow. They wanted to learn. And they knew deep down that the humans had something no one else did: time, patience, discipline, vision, and a broadcast viewed by billions. Mira Kale, half human, half Aloria, stood before the galaxy. Her voice was calm, her words clear. You feared the humans would return with fire, but they returned with something stronger: direction. You feared a fleet, but they built a future. This is not the end of the Union. It is the beginning of choice. Planets joined the human. Systems peacefully, willingly, not because of threats, but because of what they saw. Black towers rising on forgotten moons. Massive orbital rings producing energy without waste. Cures for diseases long thought unbeatable. And children human and alien learning. Together in floating schools. Not an empire of control, an empire of progress. On Kriver Prime, warships stood silent in dockyards. Generals no longer gave marching orders, because their soldiers had seen something that made them stop fighting. Respect. Even the most hardened Kriver warriors understood now: you don't fight ghosts who can erase you without firing. But not everyone agreed. In the shadows of the Union, an extremist group called the Order of Purity formed. They claimed humans were not saviors but invaders in disguise. They believed the blank zone was a trap. They believed the humans had a weapon greater than any fleet. They were right, but they didn't understand it. The Order sent 6 warships into the zone against all warnings. They didn't report back, except for one. It returned 7 hours later, empty. No crew, but inside the bridge, a message burned into the wall. You cannot remove what became the foundation. The Union decoded the meaning. The humans didn't build on top of the galaxy. They built underneath it. In every lost system, every backwater moon, every ignored corner, they had been preparing for centuries. While the Union celebrated control, humanity created something deeper. Aboard The Halo Hail met with Mira one last time. "You've succeeded," she said. "You've shown them who you are." He didn't smile. "Not yet," he said. "Only the surface." She tilted her head. "Then what's next?" He looked at the star map on the wall. New human systems were lighting up every hour. "Next, we expand. Beyond the galaxy?" He nodded. "We've done what no other race did. We stopped playing the old game. Now we begin a new one." The final human broadcast to the Union was simple. It played across every channel. No threats. No music. No leaders. Only words on a black screen. "The galaxy watched us vanish. Now it watches us grow. We do not ask for permission. We do not seek your approval. We are human. We are home." And with that, the galaxy changed forever. Not by invasion, not by destruction, but by quiet. Returned by shadowed strength, by an idea that somewhere out there, forgotten. People had not forgotten themselves. They had waited, they had watched, and now they were everywhere. The end. The stars were quiet, but in the ancient archives of the Galactic Union Core Library, the silence was broken by hurried footsteps. Historian Trellin, thin silver-scaled Valtari, ran his claws over the glowing data scrolls. His eyes were wide, his breath fast. He had found something. Not just a rumor, not just a theory, but truth. Buried. Deep beneath layers of corrupted records and sealed government files, he had uncovered the hidden past of humanity, the part no one was supposed to see. He pressed the emergency transmitter on his wrist. "I need access to the High Council. Now. Tell them. I know why the humans vanished." Minutes later, Trellin stood before 12 silent Union leaders. He placed a single data rod on the table. "I've decrypted the Exodus Black logs." He said. No one spoke. They had heard that name before, but no one truly understood it until now. The screen lit up, old Earth, blue oceans, green forests, cities stretching into the sky. The final days, before humans vanished. The video was grainy, but real. A man stood at a podium, tired eyes. Strong voice, Admiral Elias Ward. "This is not a retreat," the recording said. "We leave not because we lost, but because we outgrew this galaxy's wars. While others fight for control, we prepare for something greater. We will go where none dare go. Into the silence, into the dark. There we will build. We will learn, and one day we'll return. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as a reminder that humanity was never weak and never gone, only watching." The feed cut out. The room remained. Still, Trellin leaned forward, called it the Project Black Sun, a plan to build a new civilization. Hidden behind a dead zone, cloaked by tech we couldn't even understand. He tapped the screen. A second image appeared. It showed a map 500 years old, and in the center, the same place now known as the Blank Zone. "It wasn't empty," Trellin whispered. "It was always theirs. In secret labs, Union, scientists confirmed it. The Blank Zone had faint traces of temporal energy. Gravity shifts that didn't follow any known pattern. Strange echoes that made no sense. Someone or something had been bending space there for centuries. But not just hiding, changing, evolving across the galaxy." News of Trellin's discovery spread fast, not through broadcasts, but through whispers. The humans had never vanished. They had simply stepped away to become something more. On the outer edge of the Blank Zone, a hidden satellite picked up a burst of data, only 3 seconds long, but it was enough to crash its entire system. The last line before shutdown was a fragment of text. "Project Ascension phase complete." No one knew what phase Ascension was, but many feared what came next. Inside a dark command center deep within the Blank Zone, Commander Hale stood over a glowing display. Dr. Yara Quinn stood beside him. "The Union found the Exodus logs," she said to Hale. Didn't look surprised. "We knew they would. It was part of the timeline. Are we ready?" He nodded. "Phase 1 is done. Observation. Warnings. Messages." He touched the screen. Some massive shape lit up larger than any ship ever built. Phase 2 begins. Back in Union territory, Mirakel, half-human, half-Alari, was pulled into another private meeting. She had seen the humans up close, and she was the only one they'd let leave. The head of Union intelligence leaned toward her. "What do they want?" Myra's voice was calm. "Not your land. Not your power. Just distance." "But why come back now?" She looked at him carefully. "Because they're finished building." A research station near the blank zone, Station Terrace, detected something new. Not a ship, not a signal, a structure. Massive, floating just inside the line. It looked like a ring, black, silent. But when scanned, it returned impossible readings like it existed in two places at once. The scientists called it the Black Halo in the central chamber of the Galactic Union. Panic turned into argument. They're building something. They already built it. What is it? A weapon or a gate? One Alari general stood. "I remember Earth. They were builders, dreamers, but they were also survivors. Whatever this halo is, it was made for a purpose." A Kriver senator growled. "Then we must destroy it before they use it." Mirakel stepped forward. "Destroy it, and you'll destroy yourselves." In the deep night of space, just outside the Black Halo, the Kriver secretly launched 3 stealth drones. They vanished within seconds. No explosion. No light, just gone. The next day, 3 black containers floated outside Union. Headquarters inside each one was a drone, deactivated, unharmed. And on each was a symbol. Attached to the final drone was a simple note. "In perfect galactic common. This is your final test. There will not be another." In back rooms, some Union leaders began to plan for war, but their people, civilians. Workers, scholars began to speak louder. They didn't want war. They wanted to know more about the humans, why they left, what they built, what they became. And some even asked a more dangerous question: should we join them? On hidden channels, across fringe colonies and border worlds, perhuman movements began to grow. Not because of force, but because of fear, respect. No one could explain how humanity had done it, but they had. They had disappeared, reappeared, and proven that power didn't need to shout sometimes. It only needed to exist. Back in the Union archives, historian Trellin discovered one last encrypted file. Its title, Ascension. Protocol Human Purpose. It was locked with an ancient Earth key. When opened, a voice played. Familiar. Human. We were not born to conquer the galaxy. We were born to survive it. To rise when others fall. To grow where others stagnate. We're the storm that waits at the edge of maps, not to destroy, but to remind the stars that humans endure. The ascension is not the end of our story. It is the beginning of yours.